They come with a very different point of view as a patient, as well as somebody who's been on many different treatments, and as a woman who works with other women patients. And I know from my own experience with women in support groups who've been on tamoxifen or who anticipate going on tamoxifen, the words mild or tolerable nausea may not be as acceptable to them as it may be to some other people in the room. So that would be one thing I could ask you to comment on. The second thing is, I noticed in the study there seemed to be one of the adverse effects was headaches. That would be another reason. I know women would be very reluctant frequently to start a treatment. And the last thing, with the chart that we were just shown, even though there seemed to be clear improvement in quality of life for a percentage of women, still seemed the percentage of women who deteriorated was still greater. So those are three different points, but I wonder if somebody could comment on them.
Well, I think there's no optimal way of what a patient representative should bring to the table. Certainly, this is by no means a cookie-cutter process.
The opportunity to be the patient representative, though, based on experience as a survivor, just makes sense, because there isn't the opportunity for the scientists that sit on that board, perhaps, to talk with everybody.
It's impossible to really know what a patient feels or experiences as they go through the course of an illness and treatments for that illness. We really only know that by asking.
We've tried to find people that we think are the most representative in terms of having access to a large number of people within the community, either through newsletter, internet, just general network that they have.
Patients' opinions are very important, and I think they do have an effect on the scientific community and the medical community.
I think we're a partnership, specifically in connection with the advisory board panel, in that we bring a face to the panel.
What I like to think of participation in advisory committees is as bringing my own personal life to the table, doing my best to try and think about how the drug or product or whatever we're looking at will work in the real world in a variety of different settings, not just my own life, and then to try and bring that back.
And patient representatives are provided with all the information that goes to all the other members of the advisory committee. So they're aware of all the background studies, all the data that the company wants considered for the market application. And generally, those are people who've networked within the community.
People who are paying more attention at this point are probably people like myself who've been very active in their own treatment, who have become actively involved in some participation in an organization which is serving other patients with a similar disease.
The FDA's process of looking at this whole panel and how people are selected and how people are trained, I consider this progress. I quite frankly don't think anything, unfortunately, anything happens overnight. But the very fact that you've got people who are trying to make a difference, I in fact think is a very good idea, and they will. They absolutely will.
The Food and Drug Administration looks to the advisory committee to give scientific input on difficult questions about the safety and efficacy and balancing risks and benefits, but the patient population can bring this perspective of the end user, of what it's going to be like to use it, whether or not there are the less tangible benefits.
The doctors themselves become very interested in your opinions and your thinking process. And of course that modifies their approach.
There will be doctors who are treating people in public clinics. There will be doctors who are treating people in the Midwest. There will be researchers working at high-tech academic institutions. And all of us will be bringing that experience and taking it back to our respective communities.
oftentimes I ask myself, what would be my focus here? It's easy to get lost because everyone all brings to the table with their own agenda, whether it be you're a member of the industry community or you're a member of the academic or from the agency. Clearly, what's important to me is that I want to be able to advocate patient issues.
We have a responsibility to understand that our opinions are only part of the picture, and that we need to know the science well enough to be able to converse with the other members of the panel. Once that level is reached, it's my experience that researchers and doctors have no difficulty listening to us. In fact, they're very interested in the patient perspective.
I think it works both ways. I think as a patient, if I didn't look at it from the scientific point of view, didn't read the studies, didn't hear what that side was saying, I could respond immediately only from the gut, and I could, without considering all of the benefits or risks in anything, say yes or no to it, and I could be completely wrong.
If you don't understand something, the time to ask it is when you've got the real experts sitting around. Sometimes the reaction is, never thought of it that way. How about this? How can we explain it?
You know, all of the effort, all of the time that the FDA is going through, all of that is for the benefit of the people that are going to be perhaps using the drug. And so I think that the patient representative brings to the table a totally different experience. And we can communicate with the scientists as long as the scientists and the patient representatives are speaking the same language. And I found that to be true in my experience.
None of the members of the patient rep committee are there for themselves. They know that within their own area, that they may or may not benefit. But what they're doing, their contribution, may benefit a great number of people.
I think it's really useful to have talked to a lot of other advocates and gotten a sense of what people are saying. But the bottom line is, it's you up there on that at that table, and you got to use your best judgment.
I think that we should continue to encourage more people from the community to get involved with this process, that they need to be made aware of that there is a seat for them at these advisory board panel, that they have not only a voice, but that voice will get heard by all parties concerned. It's
possible, I think, to get a sense of how all of us may react or may feel about a certain treatment, a certain drug, if you will. That's why I think it's so very important to have a diverse board, both from the patient representative point of view as well as the scientist.
Both the patient and the doctor are there for one purpose: assist the patient.
I think people can't help but hear when another person speaks, and somehow I think when a patient speaks, it really rings quite loud.